Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast, Fulfillment in Faith. I am your host, Shannan Mondor. Today's episode is a continuation of my series, You Are Not the Only One. I was brought forth to do this series because during my healing from my addiction to alcohol, there were so many times that the universe had brought me to silence. And it was during those times was when I learned so many things about myself and I was guided. I was guided to talk openly about my past, my abuse, and my addiction, and to speak my truth. From those moments of silence is when we learn, we grow, and then we teach and we help others. Today, my very, very, very special guest is Kathleen Cameron, and she is here to share her story of silence. Welcome, Kathleen. How are you?
Hello, beautiful. I am doing so amazing and I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm so glad that you're here, Kathleen. Kathleen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then from there, you can go right into your story because it is an amazing story.
A little bit about myself now, how I would identify today is, I am a mom of two beautiful girls in just outside of Toronto, Canada. And I'm an entrepreneur, a CEO, an author, a speaker, a coach. And a woman who just leads with love in every possible way, which is a little bit different from how I used to be. But I truly believe that if we are doing everything with a loving perspective and really stepping into our authenticity, our integrity, and really, really living from the heart, we can have a really amazing experience in this life if we choose to do it that way. But in terms of my story, gosh, it can go pretty far back. When I was a little girl, I started putting on weight when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I remember I went on my first diet. I identified that I was going to lose weight and go on a diet. And I started drinking a whole lot of water every single day, all day, every day. I would chug back water. And my mom would send me with a lunch and I would throw everything out but the apple. So all day I would drink water, flush the fat. People tell you flush the fat. And then I would have an apple a day because apples are healthy. So that was good for me, And it just got to a point where all of my life was this desire to change my physical body. So it was a flaw for me much of my life. The flaw was that I was bigger than average, that I was lazy, that I overate, that I didn't take care of myself, that I was a pig, things like that. I really had those beliefs about myself. And I really never saw beauty in my physical appearance, probably until my late 30s, I would say, when I started to see beauty. But that led me to a point where for much of my life, I was overcompensating for feeling flawed. So I was a registered nurse and I've got two degrees. So for me, it was, I left high school, got a degree, got another degree, became a registered nurse, became a charge nurse, became a manager. Then I decided to get a master's degree in nursing. Then I got a gerontology certification. And then I got this certification and that one. And so it was this quest for success to try to measure up, to try to be worthy. So I can actually look back now and some people say, well, yeah, you're really driven, you're really motivated. And I'm like, yeah, I am. But I was motivated and driven back then because I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel worthy. So that's a very different experience than, wanting to be successful because you want to help people or to serve or whatever else it was to fill a need, right? So what's really really interesting is after I had my daughters, my identity was shaken up. After you have kids, I went from being this woman who had a successful career, was a manager in healthcare, had all these degrees and certifications, and then you're at home with a baby. And none of that is important. None of that really means anything. You no longer have income coming in while you're on maternity leave. You're relying on your spouse for that. And it was like, who am I? And what do I want to do? And this baby just takes all of your time and all of your focus and your attention, and you're at the mercy of somebody else's needs, another human's needs. Then another baby came. Then postpartum depression came. And so that was one of the lowest points in my life. So I would have been 31, 32.
Kathleen,
Uh,
I've got a
yeah,
question. Did you have postpartum depression with both babies?
just the second.
Oh, I had
Yeah.
postpartum with my first, and boy, oh boy,
Yeah. No, it was just with the
that
second one.
was okay.
The first one was okay actually. That year that I took off, we did a lot. We spent a lot of time just the two of us traveling around, going to the mall. I took her to play dates and all those kinds of things. But once the second baby came around, it was harder to do those things.
Mhm.
And so being at home with the two of them full time, and I was also working on a master's degree at the same time. So I had a lot going on. And I didn't really realize what was happening at first. I just felt an overwhelming amount of sadness and no interest in anything. Like I wasn't taking pictures anymore. You know, that time when Reagan was a newborn, when she was little, those first 6 months, I don't have a lot of photos of her. It wasn't until I started to come out of the depression that the photos started again. And so I remember Chris called my mom and said, "You've got to come here. There's something wrong. Like she's not right." And my mom flew in to help and to support. But that time made me. I've realized so much since that time because it was the fact that I still saw a little bit of light that I asked for help. You
Mhm.
know, and I remember we moved across country. We moved home to Ontario, and I was staying with my sister. And it would get to be about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Chris would go to work, and it would be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd be calling him crying. "When are you coming?" Like, I can't do it anymore. I'm exhausted. Every day was Groundhog Day. It was the same thing over and over again. Feed the babies, take them to the park, put them down for a nap. One wouldn't nap, one would, you know, snack, lunch. Like, it was just the same thing over and over again. 2 o'clock, I'd call him and be like, "When are you coming? I can't do it anymore. You got to come home." Like, and when I look back on that now, I'm like, you know, that wasn't really that bad of a life. But my mind was so caught up in the negative. I couldn't connect to my identity. I couldn't connect to a desire for more. I couldn't connect to future. So it was like the mundane daily tasks just seemed so hard. And then one day I took the girls and I walked over to a walk-in clinic. I just had both of them with me with a stroller. We walked over and I walked in and I said, "I need help. I need to talk to somebody." And that doctor was like, "No, I can't help you. You've got to go to your family doctor." And I said, "I don't have a family doctor. And I am a woman, a mother of two, who is sitting here in front of you talking about how she lays in bed at night, planning how she's going to end her life. I
Mhm.
need your help." And he prescribed me antidepressants that day. And within about 2 weeks, the cloud started to lift and I started to be happy again and I started taking pictures again. And that medication was the thing that supported me until this material. So once I started in this material and I started studying manifestation, power of the mind, law of attraction, I started to become self-aware. I started to reprogram my thinking. And then I eventually went off the medication, but I was on them for a good 5 years.
Mhm. Yeah, I
But
went through, I went through about where I was also on antidepressants as well. But
yeah,
the only difference between you and me, I had an addiction to alcohol, so I was taking my antidepressants, if you can believe it, with my alcohol.
with your alcohol. Yeah. I remember there was,
Unbelievable. I look back now and I think, oh my God, like what the
well,
hell?
I remember there was a period of time where um, I was turning to alcohol. And I wouldn't say that I've ever had like a problem, but it was definitely where the alcohol was the thing that would distract me from the negative feelings that I was having, you know? And like every single night we'd have like a bottle or we'd have two and it was becoming this habit. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know. I'm feeding something here. Like there's something emotional that I'm not uh, dealing with, that the alcohol became the thing that was supporting me for sure.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I went through a stage as well where I call it my cupboard of fix me's, Kathleen,
Mm,
because I had my cupboard of ideal protein. I had my cupboard of isogenics. I had
mm,
my cupboard, my freezer full of Weight Watchers meals. Like I've been through all of it, and I actually talk about it in my book, how I was looking for everything outwards to fix what was happening on the inside, because I lived for what everybody thought of me, what I looked like, I just everything. And it
me too.
was, it was just unbelievable. Yeah, I was all about the fix me's, ideal protein. I had to be slim, you know, like I've always been super tiny. But when I went through that bout of my biggest depression, I'm normally about 120 pounds, 22 average in there. But when I was at my worst, lowest time, just before I went into treatment, no, this was after I'd gone into treatment, and then I came out and I quit drinking for a year. But during that year, I got really, everything was happening again with me. I went up to 188 pounds,
Mm.
like little five. I'm 5'1.5", and I went up to 188 pounds, and it was just like my
Mm.
body was so full of toxins. And that was when, and that's energetic toxins as
Oh,
well.
for sure. Yeah.
And just as soon as I started to heal myself, get my self-awareness, everything. And yeah, I had that covered of the Fix Me's. And let me tell you, I spent a fortune. But you know what? You're right. If you don't change the identity of who you are, it will all come back
Oh,
over and over and
absolutely.
over again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I have found now, you know, the belief was that I was a problem that needed fixing. So when you're talking about your cupboard of fix me's, that's the thing, right? Is that we don't actually love ourselves. We actually think we're broken. We think we're a problem. And so we're trying to become the best of ourselves by hating ourselves. And where everything changed for me was when I started to actually evaluate, like, why do you think carrying extra weight is bad? Why do you not see your beauty? Why do you think you have to lose weight before you can achieve success? Why do you think you need to go lose 10 pounds before a photo shoot?
Mhm.
Why this? Why that? And I started really asking the questions, where did that come from? And what I realized is it was a lack of self-love entirely. So I wasn't giving myself the pat on the back. I wasn't telling myself how amazing I was. I wasn't saying you're an incredible mother. You can do this. You're powerful. You're strong. I was actually saying the opposite. I was saying you're failing at this. You suck. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're not doing well at this. Like, it was just this constant feeling that I wasn't good enough and that I wasn't worthy that
Mhm.
led me into the negative spiral to where I was with my emotions. And to look back now, to even talk about this, I don't think I've talked about this in a long time, just how low I was in that time. But the Kathleen that I am today, the version of me right now, I can't even imagine thinking some of the things I thought back then. I can't even imagine the darkness. Like, I go back to how I thought and I'm like, oh, like, I'm so happy and so excited for life that it brings me to tears in a positive way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whereas the tears before were just negative tears about everything I was doing wrong and failing at and how bad the world was and how bad life was, you know? And now I was just with one of my one-on-one coaching clients on the weekend, Eva, and I went to go see her home in Spain. Something that we worked together with our one-on-one container was her manifesting that home. And she says to me the second day we were together, she said, you know, Kathleen, I've noticed something about you. And I said, okay, tell me. Because she really just pays attention. And she said, you are in a constant state of awe 24/7. She's like, you're talking about how beautiful this is and how amazing that is, and you're taking pictures and you're taking videos and you're excited about everything. She's like, it's like you're a kid in a candy shop 24/7. And I said, yeah, I know. And she's like, is that intentional? I said, yeah, absolutely. Because if I see the beauty of this world and the beauty in myself and the beauty of everyone around me, it is nothing but just excitement and love. And so then all I see is excitement and love. And then all I attract is things to be excited for and to love more and to be grateful for. And
Mhm.
so everything is working out for me because that's the intention I've set in the way that I view the world. And so the world responds to me. I didn't know that before.
And you know what I find so beautiful about you too, Kathleen, is the fact that you've got two beautiful little girls, and they've
Mm.
got a mommy that they can look up to, right? That just loves them for them.
Yeah.
Where I look at my children, because they've seen me struggle through so much throughout my life, like my two older ones, I've got, you know, my older daughters, they're 24 and 19. So they see, because when I quit drinking, all I did was I transferred for that year when after I came out of treatment, I quit drinking for 1 year, and I thought I
Mm.
was good. But what I did was I transferred my addiction from my alcohol into fitness. So I became a
Mm.
bodybuilder. I've always been very, very athletic. And so I didn't realize it. So I was feeding my addiction now to bodybuilding. And let me tell you, like, they watched me measure my food. They watched me get up every single morning, and I was at the gym, and I was always constantly doing my cardio. They seen me up on stage. I'll tell you, I felt amazing up there. Do you know what I mean? But of course, that's also a part of addiction, right? And so now, like, I look at my girls, and they're all very athletic. They're all beautiful, but I can see the damage that I've done to them. So
Mm,
now, me as a mother, and now who I've become now, and you very much know the person that I've become, now I wouldn't say I have to reverse things. Now I really have to stand in my power, and I have to really show them that it's not about these outside things. It's about,
yeah.
you don't have to be dieting. You just have to talk about your feelings, get your emotions out. Don't suppress at all.
Yes.
Don't ever
Yep.
suppress. If you want to cry, cry. Or if you're angry at me, be angry at me, but you need to talk, and you need to get these things out.
Communicate it out.
And
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, and I look at my youngest daughter, that's 15, and oh, she is just a little spitfire. Like, she's a little volleyball player, and now she's discovered going to the gym and all of it. And I just look at her, and I'm just so proud of her. Like, I'm proud of all of my children, but
Yeah.
because she didn't see so much of me at that time, because she was little. Right now, it's just so beautiful to see how each one of them are slowly starting to transition.
Yeah, and for me, like my girls are 9 and 11.
Mhm.
So this material's only been in my life for less than 4 years. So the past 4 years is when I've really stepped into the best of myself, higher level awareness, where my actions come from love, not from hate of myself. So they still have some habits and some things that they learned from before those 4 years. So they have seen a mother that doesn't have healthy habits, that doesn't love her body, that doesn't care for it. But what I do every single day now is be the best of myself so that they will learn from me, through me, how to love themselves, how to choose health and longevity, how to manage their emotions, how to express and talk about, and things like that. So I don't go back and think, oh no, like, in what ways have I screwed up? Because there's nothing I can do about that. But what I can do is I can change from this moment forward and instill as many new beliefs and behaviors in them as I possibly can. And so I'm aware, very, very aware, and talk to them about it and just make the best decisions for my health. So they're seeing a mother now who does love herself, who thinks that she's beautiful, who is proud of her accomplishments, who goes after what she wants. Gosh, I want my girls to go after what they want. I want them to know that it's all there for them. They just do it, be fearless, be bold. But I want them to love themselves no matter what, unconditionally. So no matter what their body looks like, no matter how much money they make, no matter if they're in a relationship or not, no matter what type of future they choose to have, I want them to love themselves unconditionally. And I really, really, I do believe, and I have faith that they are learning that from me now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I've learned through that whole experience is, even when I go shopping,
Yeah.
I'm not shopping to fix things, right? I'm
Yeah.
not to make me feel better.
Yeah.
When I shop now, I shop because I want it and I love it.
Yes. It's
It's just totally different.
totally different energy. Yes,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah, yeah. And yeah. And like, so for example, we were just in Calgary, and I went into the Louis Vuitton store, and I bought myself another bag. And it's not because of the status of having the bag. It's because,
Mhm.
like, I want this bag. I deserve this bag.
You're worthy.
I'm worthy. Absolutely. It's just so different. And it's
Yeah.
not buying it for anybody else, for people to look at me because I'm carrying a Louis Vuitton. It's because it's all about me now. I value myself. I deserve.
Oh, and that's such a powerful difference too, because I did notice something about myself that shifted in my growth too. When I first started in this material and I started studying and I started becoming more wealthy, I found myself making purchases that I could post about and making purchases that would show the label. Okay, so this is like, I'm being real honest about this.
Mhm.
I would not buy a bag that didn't show the label overtly and big on it so you knew it was a designer bag. But as I started to grow and expand and I started to become the best of myself and care less about what others thought and more about what I thought, I still buy designer things, nice things, fashionable things, but I don't care what the label says, and I don't care if you can see the label or not. I won't even post about things that I buy because it's not about posting it. It's about purchasing it for me to make me feel good. And so that's the difference about a lot of this. You know, some people say to me like, "Oh, Kathleen, can you post more about what you bought? Like, you were just in Paris. You didn't buy a thing. Like, tell us what you bought." But there comes a point though where it's like, you know what, but I bought that for me. I didn't buy anything to show
Yeah.
to, you know. So I go through moments where I feel inspired and I'm like, I'll share and I'll show. But then other times I want to keep it. I want to keep it close and I want to keep it to me and keep it for me. And so
Yeah.
just a little thing, like little things like that that I notice when you are purchasing something, to be able to show it, to be able to post about it, to show the label on it. You know, what is that about? Is that
Yeah.
really about yourself? Or is it really about the other? I talk about the other in my new book, The Best of Yourself.
Yeah.
You know, who are we if it wasn't for the other that we believe is observing us? That's been
Right.
a big learning and big growth for me, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And it was funny because my daughters were with me in the store and they're like, "Mom, mom." And I'm like, you know what, girls, like this is going to be normal. This is normal now in our life. Like we're going to
Yeah.
walk in. And if I choose to buy a bag, I'm buying a bag for me because I'm worth it. And you girls are going to get to that point as well.
Yeah.
So
They can
I'm
choose when they
thinking,
get older
yeah,
what they, yeah.
yeah, it might be something else that may have no value to it, but for you, it makes you feel good. And
Yeah.
it's not about anybody else. It's about me. It's what I want. It's what about I desire. It's about my life.
I love that so
Oh,
much.
yeah, yeah. So it was really good. I just love what you shared here, Kathleen. Through your whole experience, what is it that you learned from it? What was the number one thing that really stood out for you that you constantly are bringing forward?
Oh, lack of self awareness. Oh my. Like, it's so interesting how a lack of self awareness and understanding led me to make decisions in my life that were not actually in alignment with what I wanted or what I desired. You know, and what I mean by lack of self awareness is that I really didn't know who I was. I really didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know how I thought on a regular basis. I didn't know how I thought about what I thought about myself. Like, I believe that I was born with a body and with a personality, and that's just how it was. And that's the way that the world, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbled. You know, I had a personality and I just was who I was, and my body was the way that it was. And so I fought to change the outside, but never considered changing the inside,
You
because
know,
I always thought that's who I was. You know, I read something the other day, somebody said, change your personality and change your personal reality. But I believed my personality was what it was, that I was just born that way. So when I started studying this material in September of 2019, and I learned about self-image and self-concept, and I started to really ask the question, like, who do I really think I am? And like, how do I think I behave? And like, how do I fit in this world? And what makes me special and what makes me less than? What makes me worthy and what makes me critical of myself, you know? And as I started to dig in deeper and become more self-aware, I was like, that wasn't true. That wasn't true. That wasn't true. That wasn't true. Like, they were beliefs that were suggested to me from the outside world, and I just accepted them and I just moved forward. And never I was never a critical thinker when it came to who I am. So the lack of self-awareness really led me down a road, and like my life where it got to by September 2019 was a good life. It really was. There were times where I didn't believe it was, for sure, especially during the postpartum depression, but it was a good life. And I followed the common plan: go to school, you know, graduate from high school, go to university, get a job, hopefully in an area that it's needed, you know, so nursing, became a nurse, help others, serve others, and then get married, have kids, be married, and then retire at 65. Like, that's the traditional life that we are taught to live. So because of my lack of self-awareness, I just did it and thought that that was it. And I would see other people having extraordinary lives. You know, that's the word that I used in September of 2019, was I want an extraordinary life. When I became self-aware, I realized, you know what? I think part of the postpartum depression was that I wanted more and I wasn't feeling that more was available to me. So it was a conflict within me. But anyways, so in September of 2019, I realized that I could have an extraordinary life and I just needed to make it happen. I just needed to see it for me. I needed to become a version of myself who believed that was possible for her. So when I became self-aware, I tapped into this power within me, Shannan, that I never knew existed, that I never knew I had. Magic started happening and unfolding. And I became so powerful that my outside world reflected it almost immediately, almost immediately.
I'm just grinning because as you're talking and when you were saying, who do I think I am? And it's so funny because like I've really stepped into my power and I'm like, who do I think I am? And I'm like, I'm this. And it's like, it is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm just grinning from ear to ear
Yeah.
and the joy that I feel within me because I know who I am. So who do I think I am? I'm this. And I can tell people right away. And of course, they can feel that energy just coming off of me, right?
And I
It's
think,
amazing.
yeah, and I think sometimes people, old version of myself for sure, didn't want to love myself too much, didn't want to be too cocky, didn't want to think too highly of myself. You know, we've been told to kind of suppress, like, you should really not think you're that good. Like, hold on, this is a problem. But now I ask the question, like, can you love yourself too much? Can you believe in yourself too much? Can you connect to too much of you? No, because your life experience is dependent upon how you see yourself. And I want my life to be extraordinary. I want to be fulfilled. I want to have love and passion and joy. And what we all seek is freedom and happiness. And
Mhm.
so the more you love yourself truly from a spiritual place, from a connection to the divine, whatever that means to you, universe, God, creator, whatever language you want to use. But when you love yourself for the divine way in which you have been created, and you allow yourself to step up and into that, you will experience higher levels of self-love, of love for this world, of joy, of fulfillment, and happiness that you've ever experienced in your life. And so, my favorite book, Neil Donald Walsh's Happier Than God, is such a brilliant book. And what is so brilliant about that is that there is a higher level of happiness available to you than you have ever experienced or even thought you could experience. And that involves changing the way in which you see you, not the outside world, but
Absolutely.
you. And that was the biggest shift. And so self-awareness is everything. That's why for me, I teach it as the first step in manifestation process. Manifesting anything, you have to be self-aware, or you will continue to manifest what you think somebody wants you to have, what you think you should have, and you will continue to live in that like fault. So self-love to me is the key to everything.
So this kind of rolls into my next question. What is it that you want others to know?
Oh, I posted on my story yesterday that this past week and a half has been very emotional for me. I've had a lot of tears. I'm not going to do it again, because I'm just so happy and so fulfilled. And I don't have everything in my life right now that I want. There are things that I still desire to bring in, but I'm so grateful. So I would say I'm not quite satisfied. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied because, being satisfied is not a very good place to be. Then you just stop growing. So for me, it's about being extremely grateful and being in a state of awe while being unsatisfied. That's where I'm at right now. But the place that I'm at in this moment is happiness and excitement and joy and fulfillment. And it brings me to tears because if you asked me to find something wrong with my life right now, I would probably have a hard time doing it. Like I would have to really search for it. And so the old Kathleen that couldn't find anything good in her life, the one that took her kids to the doctors in the afternoon asking for help, she needed to hear from me. She needed me to pat her on the back and say, there's a version of you who is so happy with her life, she cries about it. And so that's what I want to be for people. I
Mhm.
want to be the person that's patting you on the back, that's the nudge, that's the little thing in your ear that's saying, you can be happy, you can be happy, you can be happy, and that happiness can be in any way that you want. I don't want you to want the money that I have. I don't want you to want the house I have, the cars I have, the business I have. I want you to have the happiness that you want in the way you want it. And so I hope that's what people learn from me, is that they can have it all. They can be anything they want to be, and then they can experience a higher level of love for themselves and for this world that they've ever had, that they cry at how happy they can be and that they are.
That's absolutely beautiful, Kathleen. Thank you for
Mm,
sharing that. I would kind of say that you were rolling right into my next question
mm,
when and that is, where are you now in your life?
mm, mm.
And
Wow.
you're at the happiest state.
Yeah. Life right now is really, really beautiful because I'm living in my purpose and my passion. And it's actually my calling. I'm answering the call to good. And so the more spiritually aligned and connected that I've become, the more I have tapped into this calling, this call to good. So I really believe that I was meant to go through some of the lows that I've experienced. I
Mhm.
didn't get a chance to mention, but within this past 3 years, as I was quantum leaping my life and growing my business, I built an 8-figure coaching empire, I will say, traveled the world. I had a lung surgery, got really sick and had lung surgery in Miami. I've undergone a separation in my marriage, and, different contrasting things have happened. But every experience that I've had, the ups and the downs, have happened for a reason. And they have happened because I am a experiential learner and teacher. So I learn through my own experience and then teach it to others so that they can experience it for themselves. And so the good and the bad and the ugly have all happened in my life to make me who I am today in this moment, to answer this call to good and to fulfill a legacy. And I truly believe that I am here, and I met Bob Proctor in the end of his life, the last 2 years of his life, so that I could gather from him what I needed to be able to continue on with this legacy. And I believe that he attracted me in the last 2 years of his life so that his legacy can be continued through in somebody that was going to do it in a way that's good for today and for now, in the feminine, the ease and the flow, in the spiritual. And so, with the rise of the she economy, the rise of the feminine power and the feminine energy, not just for women, but for men as well, we are learning to do things differently. And so I'm answering the call to good now. And I am meant to serve millions of people. I'm meant to help people on a very big level. And so that's why some of these experiences have happened for me to become the best of myself. So I've undergone a beautiful transformation in my identity related to health. So I no longer care about what I look like, but I care about how long my body lasts me. And so now I have behaviors that are in alignment with that. I don't want to lose weight. I want to be a healthy woman who walks, who has a personal trainer, who eats nutritious foods, who takes care of her vessel. And so, the past year, I haven't really said it too publicly, but I've almost released about 100 pounds, and it's the first time in my life that I've done it with love for myself, with absolute love for myself, and not measuring food, not measuring my body, not being on the scale every single day, not going on a diet, not restricting or depriving, but just being happy and being healthy.
You don't even look the same.
I know.
Beginning
Yeah.
of your journey to now don't even look the same at all.
I
It's
know I look like a completely different woman, but what I really want people to see is that it wasn't the change in my physical appearance. It was the change in my internal world. It was the change in how I see me and how I choose to be and who I am is now reflecting on the outside. So my outside visible appearance is just a reflection of the change that's happened inside. And so I hope people see that it wasn't about just using my physical body to like change habits for a little while and then go back to them. Like, this is permanent, lifelong change for me to step into the best of myself. So lots and lots of things going on. I've got a new book coming out this fall, The Best of Yourself. So that will be going out on pre-order in probably 6 weeks, I think. So the book has been submitted for editing. It's in its final draft. I'm launching something new in the fall.
oh,
It's
well, do tell. Can you
huh?
tell? Can you tell?
I can't say too much, but I will just say that I got an intuitive hit for something that is needed and that does not currently exist anywhere.
Mm.
I really, really want to help people to create a full lifestyle change, the wholeness of all of who they are. And so, what I will say is, I'm launching something that's going to help you manifest the life of your dreams. And so, it's going to include manifesting more money, yes. It's going to include spirituality. It's going to include relationships and self-love and identity. And it's also going to include things like fashion and beauty. So
Cool.
I'm really stepping into a different part of manifestation. So the Paris photo shoot that I just did is a big part of it. You'll see when it all comes together, but it's going to be really beautiful, and it's going to be really available and accessible for everyone in the world. And it will be the biggest thing related to manifestation that's ever existed. And it's going to change many, many lives. So I'm launching that in the fall, just after I launch my book.
Okay,
You
well,
know,
now I'm really excited about this because then I can see, okay, how can I be a part of this now?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, there's lots of opportunity within it, Shannon. I'll tell you on our one-on-one call.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're getting to the end of the interview here, and we're getting to the closing notes. So I want to know what it is that you want to share in your final words for the audience to know. And yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is all about you. Like, oh well, I know you've already written a book. You've got another one coming out. Just get more into depth about that and your coaching, and
Yeah.
that Kathleen says too is going to be in the notes of the podcast as
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
Easy access for everybody.
What I will say, I'll tell you in a minute how you can like find me and everything, but I think the most important thing to realize is that every single day you are telling yourself a story. And whatever that story is that you're telling yourself is determining your experience of life. So you express yourself based on that story. Your thoughts are based on that story. How you feel every day is based on that story. And the way you behave and show up and move in this world is according to that story. And it is just that, a story. It is not real. It is not true. And it is not the way that it has to be. So what we choose to make real is what will be our experience. And so if you are telling yourself a story that includes you not being good enough, not worthy enough, not knowing enough, not pretty enough, too old, don't have enough education, you don't have enough money, whatever that story is, I would drop it. I would drop the story and create a new one. And that story can be about inspiration and about love and about joy and about passion. And it can be about how you are more than worthy and how you are good enough, whatever that is. And so what is the story that you are telling yourself today? I created a new story in September of 2019, one of quantum leaps and collapsing of time, and a story of a woman who turned to self-love and changed the world. And that's the story that I live through every day. So when things show up that don't match that story, I'm like, wait a minute, is that really true? Or am I just making it true by believing that it is? So it's a lot easier for me to reject the naysayers. It's a lot easier for me to reject, what my bank account might say or what other people believe of me or in me. I can reject those things because my belief and in my story is so powerful and so profound, you can't tell me otherwise. So I am a woman who, I say that all the time. So you might say I'm a person who, but I am somebody who believes in herself so much that she will never give up. And the more I show up and the more I serve and the more I exist as that woman who never gives up, the world will never give up on me. And I think that's the biggest message that I would say. I share a lot about this on my podcast. So the Manifested podcast with Kathleen Cameron is probably the best place to get the most amount of value. If you're looking for something, my YouTube channel as well. And then my Instagram is where I share my daily life. I say my Instagram's like my diary. So my travel, my travel, things that I'm doing, launches, free events, everything is all on my Instagram. So feel free to consume whatever you would. My book, Becoming the One, on Amazon. And then stay tuned for The Best of Yourself, How to Manifest Your Best Damn Life Through You, is coming out end of September for pre-sale.
Beautiful. I've loved every minute with you. I always do, though. You're such an inspiration to me. I just love you.
I appreciate you so much, Shannon. And I will just say too that, since we started working together, you have surrendered and let
Mhm.
so much that, that energy, that feeling that you had before, it just isn't there anymore.
No,
And I know you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
So there's this release. And the more we can release the things that limit us, the more we can release the stories, the lighter we get, the more we're able to float up into our divine self. And this is really how we become the best of ourselves. Nobody can do it for us.
No, not at
We have
all.
to do it for ourselves. But find somebody to support you through the journey, because it can happen faster, lighter, with more fun. And being supported is something that you got to get used to if you want to achieve success.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, this was so wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathleen. This was
Oh my
so
God.
beautiful.
My pleasure, Shannon. I appreciate you so much. And I will be seeing you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Okay.
So in closing, if you like this podcast, please subscribe, and I ask that you tell all of your friends. I invite you to go to my website, shannonmondor.com, and please check out my coaching programs. And yeah, like, this was absolutely amazing. I loved every minute with you, Kathleen, and I just want to thank all of my guests for spending this amazing time with us, and have an absolutely beautiful day. Blessings to all. Thank you.